Wow, and I didn't even press play. I think this is just what I gotta do. I was actually about to pray before I started, but before I start off my confessions to you guys, I might as well just start my confessions and just renounce them. I already confessed, so I renounce any form of sexual immorality. I renounce any perversion, any spirit of perversion. I renounce any murmuring, any greed, any self-absorbed, anything self-will. In the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach, I renounce it. I'm in disagreement. I testify that all will should be submitted to the will of the Father by way of Yahushua HaMashiach, famously known as Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. I know that all will confess and shall bow in their confession that Christ Jesus, Yahushua HaMashiach, is the Lord of Lords. I know every person is going to have no choice, but by force, compelling force, they're all going to confess this truth. And so it's imperative that all worship in spirit and truth. So in the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach, through the spiritual, cosmic, and physical broadcast waves, from those who will catch this recording, and those who are not even aware of this recording, but me being a broadcast in the spirit realm, may all this resonate to them. And I declare that this will be sealed and emitted for the glory of the one who runs all things, the ineffable, the self-existent one, the one worthy to be all praised by his Lamb of God, the Ram of God, Yahushua HaMashiach, famously known as Jesus Christ, in whose name I seal all of this. Amen, amen. Oh man, so I'm gonna get straight to it. That right there did the work. So I'm practically freestyling something I feel compelled to share. Something I feel like it's a confession. It's related in regards to a confession. It's a testimony. It's filled with revelation. It's filled with liberation. It's filled with light and provocation. And so I was on a very unique spiritual journey, and I think it has a lot to do with, you might as well say I was a porn star. I felt like this activity that I was in is something that you would say like a secret porn star, not someone who's subjected to pornography watching porn stars, but I myself feel like I was a porn star in this timeline, right? So in this particular time period, in this lifetime, I was participating into activity that I would classify as porn star activity. Though I was not in the actual industry, the reason why I say porn star, because I'm looking at porn star in a more esoterical application. It's a broad application that porn star, the term, is related to, that a lot of people don't realize. And so the application of porn star that I'm talking about on a more spiritual and esoterical level, like something really sci-fi. And so the word porn comes from porneia, which means in Greek and Latin a prostitute, to prostitute, right? And to give yourself in a sexually immoral way in exchange for some kind of resource. And it could just, the resource could be just something simple as pleasure. And so this is how I fall into the category of not just any sexual immorality, but pleasure. I was interacting with entities in exchange for to fulfill my curiosity and the actual feeling, the sensual feeling that came from it, right? And then so now we look at the word star. Star is dealing with some kind of cosmic body. of some sort, some celestial body of some sort. So, you can prostitute yourself on a celestial level. And, we talk about astral projection, for example, but we don't really identify what that consists of. We would say, it's something spiritual activity, but we're skipping a process. We're overlooking an aspect in the topology of the nature of reality. In other words, we jump from physical to spiritual, but what's in between that is what I would identify as the metaphysical, the soul, the solar. So we're physical beings. We're looking at the logical aspect of the physical right now. But within that, the ether realms, there's something called the cosmic, the star. So we have a human nature that consists of also a star nature that then connects you as the medium to the spiritual nature. So your soul is a medium, it is a media, and it has a media that connects you to your spiritual nature. And so just how you can project this, just how in witchcraft, particularly in witchcraft, you see people projecting their souls into birds, into animals, and these various different familiar spirits, the agents, the monitoring spirits, right? That's the soul broadcast. Is related to the soul. And so there's so many different dynamics in the spirit realm in which the soul applications that is not be known to the average person, right? And so give me one second. And so I want to talk about a time where I was getting so in tune to the things that was taking place. Like, I got delivered from masturbating years ago when I was on my first prison bit, and during this time I was being sexually violated in my sleep, in my dream. And I wasn't struggling with watching porn those days. I wasn't struggling with a desire. I wasn't running from the desire any longer. It came to the point where I no longer desired it. You see what I'm saying? I no longer, because I'm like, wow, I was in tuned. I had this, when you have a certain level of knowledge, a certain amount of awareness lifts you to another level of consciousness. There's levels of consciousness. It's like an elevator. So certain knowledge gives you certain awareness. That awareness can take you to another height. Once you're heightened, once your soul's heightened to another level of consciousness, it also gives you access to certain applications that you may not even sought for. It can put you into a particular environment, and that can have its pros and it can also have its cons. And so when I started to realize that I can violate somebody spiritually just by masturbating off their picture, just by looking at a porno script, and then I started to look at that I'm also endorsing. Then I'm also endorsing the sexual violation by even watching the pornography, in the activity itself. Then I realized it's also homosexual and bisexual when I'm sitting here having to watch a man penetrate another woman in order for me to feel satisfied and fulfilled in this sexually immoral, depraved activity. It took me to another level to where I'm being violated in my dreams. I'm being violated because now I'm no longer interested. I'm disgusted. And so I'm not stopping simply because I want to escape the penalties for the sins. I no longer desire it. I no longer have an interest, so I can withstand. Now that I can withstand, here comes the attacks. Here comes the images flashing through my head. You know what I'm saying? All the stuff I watched, all the stuff I participated in, it's just flashing through my head and it's bothering me. It's actually tormenting my soul. It happens a couple of times while I'm even praying or watching or reading a scripture. I'm locked up, by the way. So I'm reading the Bible and I'm looking, and then I hear the music of like 666. Back that ass, yep. Clap that ass, bounce that ass, yep. I'm like, what the heck? I haven't heard this song in years. Mind you, I haven't heard this song in years. I haven't repeated those words in years. It's just running through my mind like out of all songs. just coming straight through my mind out of nowhere. And that's when I started to become aware that there's a whole invisible infrastructure in the spirit realm where people got access to your past and would take what's in the archives and use that against you. Just they try to cause you to fall. And so I'm like, oh, shut up. Stop. I'm telling myself in it, and then they'll start DJing. Like, bounce that ass. Yep, bounce. Like, and the more you get frustrated, the more the recording tries to, DDoS attack you, right? Which we call a distributed denial of service, in IT realm. So to try to kind of shut your operation down. And it was working because I would stop reading the scripture for a while and try to go into prayer. And it was instances when I would go into prayer because my prayers became so heightened. I was so spiritually inclined by this time. I can pray with my eyes open and it'll be like my eyes closed. And what I mean by that, many people, they got to close their eyes to see certain visuals in the spirit realm where I can zone out with my eyes open and have remote view. And so now my remote view is being interfered with all these sexual graphics. And so what I'm thinking, because I know I'm not just remote, I went from remote viewing to being translated into an environment, which is the throne room. And so I'm thinking now that I'm translating, because that's why we meditate. We meditate to not just remote view, but to transfer into the access point. So I'm thinking that I'm bringing this abomination before the throne, and so I feel like I'm looking like Lucifer in the throne room, and I'm like, oh man, I'm going down, and so I begin to weep, and then as I'm weeping and crying, I hear this touch like, wait, slow down, grasshopper. Let's break this down to you. So the Father sends the ministering spirit to break it down and just explain to me what's happening. So what's happening here at the time, right, is that they're using storage. They're accessing my storage drive. I've been an IT lady, so that's why you're hearing my language like this. So, and they're using my memory. They're going into the memory, looking at my past sins, and they're taking that data and cropping it and distributing the data in a way to make me feel guilty, with the intent to try to make me feel guilty and make me feel ashamed, to not only distract me but to cause me to fall. Not necessarily into sin because I no longer have a desire, but it's also a sin if we become idle. It's also a sin if we begin to believe a lie, like we're rejected, like, we're just not worthy to come before his throne, which will then compel us to not pray and worship, which will eventually cause us to be disobedient. You see what I'm saying? They're so crafty. Like, you don't have to actually go out and now fall back into that. But falling back from God alone, is a sin. It's a form of disobedience that leads to rebellion. Because now it's like, you're not on your job, you're not on your dean. You have an office that requires you to stay in contact with your supervisor. You have an office that requires you to stay amongst your peer group. You see what I'm saying? Which is fellowship. You have an office that requires you to stay in contact. I can keep going, right? And so I see it like, okay, I got you. And so everything started, the epiphany and the light starts to just run. Ding, 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 ding. I'm like, I get what they're really trying to do. They see how I'm ascending. And so they're trying to destroy my infrastructure with my most recent. And so let me go on another tangent. And so you can understand the tangents actually can work good. Look up the word tangent. So these tangents are all congruent. So let me give you another tangent. And so what they also recognize with me is that I'm big on architecture. I'm building an infrastructure in the kingdom. And so soul ties, sexual soul ties, because soul ties are not just sexual. Soul ties is like who you talk to all the time, who you spend your time with, who you eat and break bread with. That's soul ties, right? And so sexual soul ties are the most intricate, the most complicated, and most intimate, right? The most binding of soul ties. You're really bound with that. And so those are infrastructures that become a network. And so you share data when you're on the network. And so this data that we're talking about is sins, it's spirits. And then so when you're on the network, you know, you can have two routers, you can have two access points on one network, and then they can all be demonic. Like, whoa, like where's God network at? Like, where's the access point to God within us? And so there's so many access points to the devil because they got so much access to you. They got so many access points to you because you're on a network of souls that are so open to the enemy. And so when you begin to walk in righteousness and begin to purify your mind, you're dislodging yourself. You're getting sysadmin to where you're counseling out and shutting down these access points. You're going into your firewall system and you're blocking ports, aka portals, to the enemy by changing your view. Because when you change your view, you're also shutting down your router. Like, I no longer use that route for pleasure. I no longer use masturbation as a route for pleasure. I no longer use fornication as a route for pleasure. I got a whole nother route. I got a whole nother router. I got a whole nother routing system, right? And so then behind the routing system though, because the router connects you what? To an internet service provider. Now Jehovah Jireh is your provider. So you got to have a router, which may be a ministering spirit, an archon, an archangel. I don't really want to tell you too much of the infrastructure of how these things work in the spirit realm. But, you know, you're getting the gist. I think you need a little bit more of this stuff. I want to save it for another time. But you kind of get the visuals, right? I just wanted to graph out the topology for you so you can understand why this is so big. Like, why are they so desperate? Why is they so thirsty? You understand? Why is it so significant? Because I can be a router for God unbeknownst through my righteousness, shut down so much wickedness that's happening around me. I can be built up as a tower with an access point to begin to block and attenuate so many different signals and frequencies that are happening around me. Right? All right. So that's why all those attacks. So, you know, I'm going to keep going because I know y'all so intrigued. You don't want to get up nowhere and y'all tired of me making these short videos, right? And so there's going to be a few parts for my people, for the sake of my people on TikTok. It's only 10-minute clips, right? All right, so boom, I still got a couple more minutes, so I'm gonna let you know a few more things. So now what's happening is that we're gonna get into everything. So I'm asleep, and all of a sudden, this is how I'm being sexually violated. I'm talking about it goes from being incubus to succubus, just riding me, boom, 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 boom. And for some reason, listen, I never had sex with a white woman at this time in my life. You know, like at this time, I never had sex with a white woman. So in the dream, there's an actual white woman. Now, have I saw pornography with white women being penetrated? Yes, but that was years ago. So I know this is not the reason for this. And this seemed too real. So I was confusing incubus activity with astral projection activity. There was a female that was being aided by sorcerers, male sorcerers, to actually connect her body to my body so that I can penetrate her in the spirit realm. And I realized that when the next time that happened, it felt like I was really penetrating her. Now, I never had anal sex by this time either. You know, I'm just telling you, I'm just exposing myself all. You know, but I was like, whoa, it feels like I'm actually penetrating. And so there was a white man on one side, another white man on the other side, as if they was aiding me to get on top of a horse. Pay attention, the word horse is very important in the spirit realm. For those who know, you can probably help break this stuff down, you know, for me if you want. I do it. But nevertheless, it says, be you not as a horse, as a mule. Psalms 32, you go to the last verse, you'll catch it. But horses are symbolic to angels and sometimes symbolic to people who are hosting angels. So nevertheless, you know, they aided me ushering to penetrate her, and it felt too real. I wake up and then like I'm on a sheet. I'm not inside the blankets. We don't wear blankets. You know what I'm saying? That's dangerous. To sleep in blankets in jail because there's a lot of witchcraft and pillows and blankets. So nevertheless, I see the blanket is risen like this. And it's not just because of my penis is erected, but my penis is strictly up. Not like this, but like straight up, as if it's inserted inside of something. Then the blanket is like this. Not like, the sheet is like It's like this, not like this. It starts to become like this as my eyes open. And then my penis become to come like this, as if there was somebody in the sheets with me. I'm like, whoa, and then the visual fades away. So I realized there was an opening, like a broadcast over me, and I was actually involved with some kind of metaverse, metaphysical kind of operation. So a lot of you may be familiar, you're gonna want to know some of this. So I'm gonna take you back to the year so that you can understand what, 2013. For those who actually need that data, the timestamp was around somewhere between 2013, 2014, right? And so, all right, boom. And so I'm in the mountains too, North Branch Correctional Institution, that's Cumberland, Maryland, Supermax, where things get wild. So, boom. Now let's transfer up. So, all right, wait. All right, so I got to give you a little bit more. So look, check this out. Now, it happens again. This time she's trying to ride me. You know what I'm saying? Like just trying to ride me. And I'll lift her up out the dream. Oh yeah. So the part where I'm bending over and penetrating in the anal, in the ass and stuff, that happened the first time. And so the sheet thing, that happened the second time. That's when I got frustrated and I was conscious this time in the dream. Like I knew that I was dreaming and I knew what was going on and I knew it was wrong. It wasn't a played out movie script. Right, I had control, full access control while in this state. Then I lift her up, and then that's when I woke up and saw all that happen that I just described. And then so many things took place that was just new for me. My horizon is expanded. And like, well, first and foremost, we can broadcast. Second of all, somebody just projected themselves. In my dream, they hacked into me and had sex with me remotely. Whoa. Then number 3, the thing that I cared about the most. I ain't gonna lie to you. You thought I would have cared about that the most. The thing I care about the most is I had control. I can control what I do in the spirit realm when I'm in rest state. And when I'm in, because there's a different kind of rest state. That's when I became aware of infrastructure, and I became even more excited about infrastructure because we are a bigger infrastructure. The building that we are is not contained by this physical building. We're bigger than this building. And and so I started to understand the importance behind infrastructure. So when just because we're in a physical rest state, that doesn't mean that we're in a cosmic rest state. Just because we're in a cosmic activity, that does not negate that there's a spiritual activity. There's different on and off states. You know what I'm saying? And so there's an on and off. So the binary is bigger than the physical, right? I'll get into all that later. If you need, just ask questions. I'm trying, for the sake of time, I got to keep moving. So, all right, boom. Now check this out. And so from there, it was on. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, it was on. I'm getting active. Now, remind you, I'm with my brothers. I'm in the Egyptologist. Like, my brothers lacing me up. We in a battle. I'm in an environment where everything is spiritual talk. Everybody's in tune. Some dudes don't eat for weeks. Niggas is levitating. They transfer from cell to cells. Dudes is all kinds of schools of thoughts and theology and spiritual activity, right? So we intellectualizing every single day. And so, the red line, they hired me, Egyptology talking, all this kind of, like, trying to get me to transfer over from the word of God. And I'm trying to tell them, like, y'all missing it. You can't understand Egypt without Israel. You can't understand Israel without Egypt. They don't get it. Like, why you think that the Messiah of Israel and the world went to Egypt, then came back home? Moses was sent to Egypt, then came back, and then took his people home. Joseph, you see what I'm saying? Like, listen. Why you think that Egypt is red, Israel is blue, but the Messiah had a purple robe on? All right, so all that was going on a more spiritual level. All right, boom. So now let me just go ahead and fast forward. So, for the sake of the next clip. Because I know y'all like, all right, man, this is all real exciting, but you keep on keeping us in suspense. What's up with this porn star thing, right? All right, boom. So I just had to give you an understanding of when all this spiritual stuff started to happen. This was the beginning of, of course, I probably had these things where we classified as wet dreams. Now I understood it wasn't wet dreams. There was incubus and succubus. Then so to give you something, so we can go back over this. Then in the prison experience, which I was just describing to you, I understood it's not just incubus and succubus that can be involved, but also human individuals in higher advanced. Okay, let me slow down. Human individuals can get involved in this sexual activity, in that experience. Now, let's talk about this porn star thing. Now we fast forward. I'm back in prison. We fast forward back into 2000. I don't know, maybe 2021. I don't know, 19, whatever. You know, it's not 19. It's 2020, 2021. I end up sitting down to try to get off probation. And I end up back in doing time, back on probation in Florida. Florida want to hold me for 5 years, and in the 5 years, you can't leave the state of Florida. It sounds crazy, ridiculous. Violate, I can't hear, I can't take it. About to get a job at IBM. Things don't go my way because I end up getting caught up before I made it down to the state where I was going to get hired. Blah, blah, blah. And so I said, you know what? I'm tired of running. Let me go ahead and just accept them and let them just transfer me. I don't appeal. I want the habeas corpus to go so I can go and sit down and do my time to get off probation. So I had to sit down and do time in order for me to get out of the custody of the state versus sitting down doing 5 years of probation. Let me sit down and do a few months and just terminate the probation, right? And so that's what I end up doing. And so now during this time, now let's fast forward. Now, before I end up going up the road, I'm in the county. And so that's when I realized these spiritual, and now it's back to these activities. Now this thing is super freaked out. Officers super freaked out. Dudes is super freaked out. It's like I'm just in Sodom and Gomorrah, man. It was really ugly, man. It was really nasty. It was really crazy activities going on, right? You know, you got dudes that be lined up in one environment. All right, so this kind of describe, give you a visual of the actual units. You know, in different jails, the infrastructure is different as far as the cell units. And in that regard, I particularly want you to get a visual of the aspect of our living quarters. So, you know, in some jails, there's a dormitory, and in some dormitories, the officers, they stay and remain in the dormitory supervising the activity and the functions of the inmates and the convicts, right? And then in some environments, even in the dormitory, they don't have no officers, right? And then you got the jails that got the single cells. So I was in all three, right? I get transferred from here to here, every here and there, right? And so I did about like maybe close to 2 years during this time to try to get rid of this madness. And so in this one jail where there's no officers on the unit, there's what we call a catwalk, where the officers walk around the unit to see what's going on, and it's nothing but bars separating it, right? And so dudes would be lined up. First and foremost, dudes would masturbate in front of other dudes. The only thing that separates them is probably a sheet or a blanket over them, right? And then you could be on a phone. There'd be phones lined up together, and don't be of no surprise if a guy whips his penis out and all he got is a sheet over him, and he's jerking off right next to you while you're talking to your family member on the phone. He could be talking to a female on the phone, or he can be pretending. You don't even know. That's the crazy part about it. The dude could be listening to you, masturbating, getting off on you. How are you going to even know? All of this is gay. And dudes would like get bullied into thinking this is normal. We'll come in here and we'll sit around like, what the hell is this? And then you got these real fake tough looking guys trying to like bully you into thinking that this stuff is okay. You know what I'm saying? Because the majority of people, and this is what they'll do, they'll break you into it, and you'll think like, oh, this guy, he looks tough. He's just like, I'm just not used to that. This is okay. You're looking at the image, and you're letting the image make you think that this stuff is okay, and then you're letting the numbers of people who are in agreement also to persuade you that this is normal, and it may not be your thing, but it's acceptable. And like after a while, that's what people get. Some people like, now you know initially it's outright stupid, it's disgusting, it's suspect. But after a while, because you're trying to stay comfortable, you begin to pervert your mind and things acceptable. For most people, for me, it ain't never happened. It's always unacceptable. But the reason why I'm breaking down that detail is so that you can understand, if you're getting a visual what I'm talking about, how is it several men will remain on the phone Some guys will literally remain on the phone. Not everybody. Some dudes gonna respectfully just leave, and they're still comfortable with it, but they're gonna get off the phone. Many guys will still stay on the phone while the guy's masturbating next to him and ejaculating, shooting off on the wall or on the floor next to the nigga flip-flops and everything, man. Like, you getting turned out. You getting turned out. And you like, listen, man, that's like, you getting classified like that to me. You eventually you'll let a man do this to your back. You know what I'm saying? That I just feel like that. You know, you might as well just give him your back or give him your shirt to wipe off all the instrument. You might as well. You know, you don't even know how much juice to hit your flip-flop. Like, that's just really disgusting, man. That's a total violation. I ain't going for it. You know what I'm saying? And I used to try to go to war about this, you know what I'm saying? And nobody really wanted to, you know, and so that was that. But I always did, though. Spiritually, I did. I didn't mind doing this about it. You know, trying to be a father and beat it out them, but I used the word. I never remained silent, and it actually got me into physical altercations that I'm proud of. Because you got to stand up for the Lord, and then these children need fathers, and sometimes children fight their fathers. So I don't mind getting to the scuff and gruffs of things, because this is just sick, and it leads to greater sexual immoralities, as we're about to speak of. Now, dig this. Now we got the officers on the catwalk. Back to the catwalk. Dudes will be in these corners and these crevices. First, it start off like that. Just in the corner and the crevices. Now, they sit here in front of the TV. Now, over time, it started to get to where the officer don't even care that other people are aware of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? In fact, the women started getting transferred to, now we got some, I'm thinking that these are actual extraterrestrial females masturbating with an agenda to demoralize and to effeminize the men on the planet. Like, niggas think that that's masculine, but that's really feminine. Like, these women will come around and control these men's energy, and they will have no standard in regards for another man. There's nothing masculine about that. You're actually violating the other man's masculinity by doing that in front of him. There's nothing masculine about that. That's gay. The fact that you can get off by a whole bunch of group of niggas talking in front of this female, that's borderline bisexual, Holmes. And then the fact that you have no regard to this men right there, that's not masculine. To break another man's masculinity and to break his peace in that kind of way is actually gay. And to want to violate another man is to do the agenda of these demigoddesses. You're more like a female slut. You're a female's puppet. You're like a servant for Jezebel. And that's not masculine, to be dominated by a female spirit and don't even be aware of it. You can't be that tough. So that's a lot of what they're doing. They program you, and then they will program the men to program other individuals. So while these females are actually, now dig this, let me slow it down. The female officers be coaching other female officers to get involved in stuff like that. And if you don't, they begin to look at you a certain kind of way. And they be breaking the females into doing stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it be all kinds of activities. And mind you, a lot of them not even getting Cash App to do this. There's no Cash App. There's no money getting exchanged for them to do that. They're actually trying to encourage them to get enticed at this facility. At other facilities, that's something different, because you can have sexual intercourse with the inmates. Here, ain't most of that going on like that. They just getting to do this for fun. These females are wanting to see you do this for fun. And that ain't for fun. They got a whole nother agenda, because when you start to do that, now you gotta get off. Now you comfortable with, now there's two guys standing next to each other jerking off and talking about the internal activities that they were doing. Then a gay guy comes on the unit. Now they got making gay jokes. Then it goes from gay jokes to gay games. You in the shower and you standing outside, and the man standing outside the shower putting his cup over the shower, asking you to rinse the cup off. Why the hell would you want me to touch your cup while I'm touching my balls? I'm in here washing my balls, my guy. Why are you going? And then if you take that cup, you suspect. You don't get what they're doing. They're breaking you in. There's the subtle initiatives, because it says the serpent is the most subtlest creature. This is the reptilian activity in a reptilian zone, South Florida. Boom. So I'm seeing all this, right? So now it's like, man, I'm fighting. So boom. So now they upgrade on me. They upgrade on me. So this is what they start doing when I'm eating the food. I'm eating the food, right? the boys are my boys. They warning me like, don't eat certain food, and sometimes don't eat food at all. But I still eat the food. I'm playing games. I'm eating the food. I'm a foodie, right? Now all of a sudden you sleep. Now it's back to these sexual immorality. Now I'm thinking like it's on a whole nother level. Now it's demons. It's not demons. It's extraterrestrial, like demigods involved with female officers. Now the female officers are right here remotely, just violating, taking turns. But see, what they did, they waited for me to sit down for such a long time. It's like being around these men for such a long time, you start to seek for a feminine companionship, even the most solid of righteous men. And so we're in to open up this door. This vulnerability is my fraternizing with these officers. I would fraternize with a lot of female officers. And so with me fraternizing with these female officers, I begin to share my data, like in other words, my CPU. My thought processes begin. In other words, let me slow down. I begin to think more about them. I'm allocating some of the time I'm thinking about God to think about these females. That's an access point. That's a point of exploitation. That's a metasploit right there. I begin to open up these doors by begin to think about these females. And I don't have to be thinking nothing sexually perverted at all. But the more I keep those threads open when I go into the spirit realm, if those threads remain open, that's a pathway for exploitation. And so sometimes they will project themselves like those females, and it don't even be those females doing the work. And then all of a sudden they just do. And then so what ends up happening is that, okay, now that's happening. I'm fighting. But I keep eating and I understand. After a while, me understanding that the food is giving access and I still do it, I lose security measures. My firewall begins to become distorted. I'm making myself vulnerable. That's not good. Your conscience is involved now. All right, boom. Now I get into an environment, boom. Now I'm telling you all what's happening to me directly. I'm confessing. So now I get into an environment where I'm cool with this officer. We real cool. All these officers, they do stuff for me. They see I'm going to, and they're helping me during the time I'm in war. I'm in war with some inmates. I'm in war with some correctional officers. I'm in war with these demons. And so a lot of these females are coming to my support. So I'm not even caring about what kind of walk of life they have, what kind of times they're on. I'm not being mindful of none of that. All I care about is love, right? But that's also opening of exploit. Just because you got love, that doesn't mean that you still need security. You still gotta be mindful of who you in love with and who you love. Because those can be vulnerability points. Now dig this. Now check this out. Now I'm in a single cell unit. This is the biggest place where I started getting exploited. Where I get put at single cell unit, they always put me in a cell where the officer sits outside the door, right? And where they posted outside the door. So there's one female officer, you know what I'm saying? She used to do things to me. Well, there was actually two main female officers, and it'll always be them doing things to me, right? There was this one female officer, she only did it when I was asleep. And I didn't realize this was going on until it was her face projected in the sleep, and I was busting her wide open in the dream. I wake up, and she's still making the noise. I wake up, and she's still making the noise as if I'm banging her. And then, like, my thing is swollen. Like, it's really happening. I'm like, whoa. It's like, this is real. This is really, like, I knew back then it was real, but it's different. Like, you know this is real, and then you experience it. It's just a whole nother understanding of reality. Tell me why now it went from me being violated to me violating God, because now I like it. Now I ain't gonna lie to you. Now I liked it. You see what I'm saying? At first I was mad at the females. Then when I seen her, right, there was like this little connection as if this was my woman. It was a perversion. See how you get forced? Now you forced into a relationship. You manipulated yourself to accept a relationship that is a violation. That is a violation. Peep game, what's going on? Because I eventually understood I was being put through this experience to help other people. I didn't stay on the mission. I forgot what the critical mission was at hand. I was seeking to understand why this was happening. I got violated to get immersed into it, to see. So that, but it's happening involuntarily. Now I'm voluntarily participating. This is just the beginning points. I'm just about to rush you to what's about to happen for the sake of time. But I'm letting you know that that's where it begins at. Because some people like, that's not really, no. It gets worse. It gets nasty. I'm just letting you know this is where it begins at. You know what I'm saying? When you begin to like it, when you begin to look at that person and you're not mad, that doesn't mean that you're supposed to hate her now. But the fact that you're not mad, you already open, you fallen. You in her house. You're in her house and you're on your way to the chambers of hell. Now I'm about to let you know how far in the hell I went, right? So dig this. So I'm there, right? I'm there playing on the waters. I'm there on the waters. I'm traveling into some unclean waters. I'm moving into Yemaya's ocean. Boom. I'm traveling outside of my zone consciously because now I'm looking at the subjects. I'm playing with the fishes in the water. I'm like, she give me food. We smiling. Like we all cute. I don't pray like I come against this in the mighty name of Yahushua. I'm a Shiite. I'm not sitting there hitting her. But I hit her with the word. I talked to her about the word, right? But I'm still looking at her like, in my mind, this is my girl. In my mind, this is my girl, right? Then another female that I was friends with that I used to teach the word. Now she doing this while I'm awake. I feel it. I know what's going on. She's sitting there throbbing me while I'm awake. And I'm no longer trying to adjust. I went from, now since that incident happened, I went from trying to get up, work out, fast, exercise, read the Bible, scream. To me, I'm just sitting here and just accepting it. I'm just accepting it. That's how it starts. Boom. And then it's like, okay, he ready. Let's upgrade him. Put him on a set. I get to another facility. Now they got me. A fight happens. They take me downstairs. Now I'm stuck downstairs for some reason. I can't go to my next facility or my next unit, wherever they're going to transfer me to. And all of a sudden, this strange stuff get to happening. And it's like, I never felt it this deep before, and I'm wide awake. I'm not half asleep. I'm half nothing. It's like something I just slid into something. And so I get to move in my body. And as I'm moving my body, it felt like I'm actually inside of a woman. And I didn't have sex with a lot of women in my life by this time, and it been a long time too. But I'm like, it ain't been that long. I know this feel like the real deal. This don't even feel like no hand around nothing. This feel like I'm inside. And so then I'm moving and I'm stroking. I'm like, and now it's not just a matter of being curious. I like it. And then I'm trying to tell you, listen, one night is 7 different officers. I know it because I'm hearing the officers talking in the background. I can't see nothing. I'm staying in this fixed position. And then it's like, after a while, you can feel the difference. You can feel when they're coming up off you. You can feel when a new officer comes in. And I'm just busting female down female. It was like I was, for the past 2 days, it was like a 2-day event. I was like a porn star, man. I was like a porn star. And all these different females. And then I realized, man, this is insidious. Like, this is really insidious because nobody really knows unless you on a spiritual, cosmic kind of stuff. Like, you might really know. But let's say you wasn't in a network like that, you would never know. You would never know until you're just exposed in the spirit realm. You know what I'm saying? Or in the dead jump. Like, that's how insidious this is. Like, think about this. You can be in a marriage and this can happen at home. Like, this trained me, gave me the awareness of what's really going on in the outer world. You could be married and your spouse she may not even know. You go to work, you exchange food with your coworker so that the food can be an access point to bang your coworker at home. And she don't realize why you're not sexually attracted, aroused to her no more because you connected to her, or vice versa. Especially with the women. The women do this more often than the men. And they try to act like they don't know this is going on at work, at the bars, you know what I'm saying, at these various different places, these Nephilim. That's how it was happening in Genesis 6 with the Nephilim. And what I was doing, this was what the Nephilim was doing, and it's endorsing the Nephilim and actually assisting the Nephilim to keep doing this. It gets so wicked that this happens to little children. Pedophile activity gets operated and put in function and motion through these activities. Little kids get raped like this. And then gay activities. In fact, one time they wanted me to penetrate a man. Like, sitting on the toilet is a doorway in jail and on the streets. Sometimes you're like, why the hell is this person in the bathroom for so long? Because they're sitting on these waters, Remember, since 2020, 2017, we've been on light frequencies on a higher altitude. So it's a light wave. Then the light year was then, so the light wave transfer. So what that means is when they showed you the Marvel movie where the worlds emerge, then everything is different. So sitting on the toilet ain't the same way as sitting on the toilet back then. You know what I'm saying? When you have a certain nature, it may not hit everybody the same way. Not everybody's that wide open. For some people, they are, right? So you never know what's going on with some people, right? And so with me in my situation, because I hit certain heights, I'm of a certain classification. I have been in a certain experience, and so there's, that's for that. And so guys sitting on the toilet, and then all of a sudden I'm in this water. Remember, I'm part of a network now. I'm in a porn star network, so my whole experience and my reality hit different than everybody else. I can be summoned without my will now. Now it's not like I'm just being under attack. Now I'm a subject to this. I'm subjected. I got a job and I don't even want the job. I was just curious. I was falling into love with these females, and also with these demi-goddesses. It was sick, and they don't really love me. They're prostitutes. There's no love in this activity. There's no love, and it gets sick because now you're part of forces who will actually connect you to little kids. You're part of forces that will connect your body to another man. You see what I'm saying? To a woman that's married. Like, this stuff is sick and perverted on a whole nother level, and I couldn't believe this level of violation, man. And I'm like, this gotta stop. So I had to fast, I had to work out, I had to go into the war room, I had to go into my prayer closet, I had to activate my secret service. Like, we had to literally go into spirit realm, and the greatest method was I had to connect with the officers and bring them to Christ. That's the way I had to dismantle not only myself but the infrastructure in that environment. I had to connect with them, so I used my experience to my advantage, because now all these females belong to me. You see what I'm saying? I actually had some little rank and influence before these events took place. And when these events took place, I was transferred into their network and into their kingdom, and I started to use that for my advantage to dismantle the kingdom of darkness. And that's how, it turned into a bright story, because it kind of got nasty in a short bit of time. And I really don't want to go into no detail and no depths of this, man, because it gets really perverted. I mean, on a real deeper level, I'm abhorred at what goes on. Like, you got to be very mindful of what you allow your children to be exposed to, who they're exposed to, what they put in their stomach, what they're watching on TV and put in their eyes. You have to be very mindful of what's going on. Now, a lot of people may not be that open to the networks, but you don't want to put them in a situation where they get exposed and get initiated into this stuff. Because this is why they rape little kids. This is why they take them to certain places. Some people come in here already in tune and spiritually inclined, just born without even by default. Other people, things happen to them, or they end up in the wrong circles and spheres. That's what you gotta be very mindful of. And then even as an adult, you're not an exception. You gotta be very mindful and don't get caught up with flattery. Not everything's okay. You know what I'm saying? Don't be quick to do things. And I had to share this because I know some people are struggling with this on just a physical level too. There's ways out of this. You don't have to keep on being used and summoned into the spirit realm, because that's what some people are. Even those who wasn't doing it remotely and virtually, but they was on a physical level. Your soul gets summons, right? You know that. Like, sometimes you'll feel this urge. You won't be at peace until you get it off. They'll begin to bother you and disturb you and things of nature until you get it off. And then what that ends up doing for men, these men end up busting men down. I never got the desire for that, to ever bust no man down. That's what made me go at war when I seen that they would do that, and they'll use a little child. So I'm like, oh no, this is how pedophilia is happening. They will provoke the pedophiles, and that's the reason why we got to protect and pray for them and go to war, because our kingdom will fight for the little children without question. God does not play about his children whatsoever. So when I seen that, I said, it's time for these whores to die, because you guys are violating. You know what I'm saying? You are betraying backstabbers who are violating. Now I understand how the pedophile network was so strong. And I found a way to destroy them. And I encourage everybody to go watch the movie The Sound of Freedom. You know, like you really, now I found a very good vulnerable point of exploitation. You take down pornography, you take down all this music, the music industry where they propagate little girls to listen to Beyonce, listen to Cardi B, listen to Nicki Minaj, listen to all these. You take that stuff down, you take the whole network of pedophile down, because that's all pedophile. That's why you can have 6-year-old, 8-year-old girls clapping their butt, repeating the songs to Cardi B. Those putting these little children into the network. You're putting them into the network. You're sacrificing their soul instead of fighting for their soul. You're violating them. That stuff is not okay. Don't have them listening to that music, because God is going to judge. God is going to judge. You try to finesse God, but y'all lost. Y'all better repent. And for the rest of y'all, I'm trying to tell you, fight back. Fight back, man. Fight back.